Hello everyone, welcome to SplitSecond. My name is Sequeira and I'll be taking you through today's match. Before starting, we at SplitSecond want to thank everyone for your constant support and suggestions on all social media. You can continue to support us by sharing and liking this video, subscribing if you haven't yet, or by becoming a patron. We'd also like to remind you guys to try and support your local game stores by buying MTG products there. Help keep your store alive. Finally, because of the pandemic, we will not be able to show you quality paper magic for some time. Instead, we will be recording some cool digital gameplay, giving it the same editing and interface we have for our regular videos. This week, we're bringing you a pre-Ikoria match featuring me with a Sidar Kondo and Vial Smasher Pain Stacks deck, Luís Brandão with an anti-combo Taigam Ojutai Master, David with Iraruel's Edgar Markov combo list, and finally, Baal with Spleenface's Chulane list. Baal is the one starting this week. His hand has two combo pieces for Chulane already, Aluren and Shrieking Drake, plus Earthcraft for infinite mana while he's at it. He has Containment Priest, which is mostly an anti-Hulk card, and 3 lands, Savannah, Polluted Delta, and Verdant Catacombs. His hand is pretty fire. I had to mulligan down to 6 cards, which isn't a good start. I have 3 lands to help me with my 4 colors, Bloodstained Mire, Exotic Orchard, and Forbidden Orchard. I have Eladamri's Call to get me either a combo piece or a relevant creature, Lightning Greaves to abuse combat triggers from creatures that use Sidar's passive well, and a Murderous Cut for interaction. I sent Samut, Voice of Dissent, to the bottom of my library. Luís's hand is also pretty good. He has 3 lands, Snow-Covered Island, Prismatic Vista to get him his missing color or double blue, and Talaria West, which can get him utility lands. He also has Mana Crypt and Chalice of the Void, which Taigam can play around due to not letting his instants and sorceries get countered. Personal Tutor his gas for either combo or solutions, and Submerge is a great way to deal with annoying creatures for free. Finally, David has 3 lands, Urborg Tomb of Yawgmoth, Luxury Suite, and Wooded Foothills to search for his missing color. Lion's Eye Diamond is part of a combo piece, whereas Vampire Cutthroat is mostly fuel for Razaketh, but can still beat our faces. Red Elemental Blast and Mandate of Peace work mostly as protection. All he needs now is the rest of his combo. Time to get this show going. Baal starts playing a Verdant Catacombs and cracking it for a basic forest to play along with his Earthcraft. He then goes for the sweet ramp with Elvish Mystic. He passes to me. My turn is pretty dull. I play Bloodstained Mire and crack it for a basic Swamp, to pretend my mana base isn't 80% non-basic lands. I let Luís get to it. Watching our plays, Luís ponders his options for a bit. He plays his Prismatic Vista and a Mana Crypt. To make his lead steeper, Luís casts a Chalice of the Void with a single counter. He knows this will cut off several tutors, as well as some win cons from Baal and maybe David. With this powerful start, Luís passes. There goes Baal's plan of abusing Shrieking Drake. Unable to play spells that cost 1 mana, David simply plays a Wooded Foothills and lets Baal get to business. Baal puts into play a Polluted Delta and cracks it for a Tundra to fix his mana base. He then plays a Recruiter of the Guard searching for a Spellseeker. His plan is to get removal for Chalice and be able to combo with his combo pieces in hand. With that, he passes to me. I choose to keep things simple by playing Exotic Orchard and casting the Lightning Greaves. So far, the ball is in Luís's and Baal's court. Luís doesn't crack his fetch until his turn, meaning he might be looking for some specific colored mana. He wins the Crypt roll. He's been on top of his Crypt rolls for the past 2 games. He cracks his Vista and David responds just in case there's a Mind Sensor coming. David gets a Plateau. Luís fetches for a Snow-Covered Plains and then he plays a Snow-Covered Island. He casts his commander, Taigam, to try and begin generating value. Luís passes to David. During his turn, David simply plays a Luxury Suite. He laughs at his draws and complains about his deck folding to a Chalice of the Void with 1 counter. Doesn't sound too optimal. He passes to Baal. Baal starts his turn resolving an Earthcraft. This is a lot of mana he could be getting, not too good for us. He taps the Recruiter of the Guard to untap his forest and then plays a Savannah, following it up with Spellseeker. However, Baal now realizes that he can't get a Nature's Claim to deal with the Chalice of the Void. He ends up picking a Finale of Devastation, which could still find a 2 CMC self-bouncing creature to abuse with Aluren and Chulane, or maybe just something that can handle the Chalice. Flexibility is a great thing. With that, he passes to me. On my turn, I play an untapped Temple Garden taking 2 damage. I leave my lands untapped before passing because I want to be a responsible boy. Luís loses his crypt roll, 50-50 so far. He casts a Lotus Petal and sacrifices it for blue mana. He then taps the crypt and his remaining island, all the while looking towards Baal's board. Talaria West gets transmuted and it brings Luís a Tabernacle at Pendrell Vale. What an aggressive play. Going to combat, Luís chooses to hit David mostly because he knows it's a combo deck that probably sports Ad Nauseam. He then passes the turn, putting on his Policeman hat. David plays the City of Brass before casting a No-Sworn Vampire, triggering Edgar Markov's Eminence and putting a 1/1 Vampire in play. The Host-Sworn Vampire enters the battlefield tapped, and we're pretty sure it functions as a combo piece for something. David passes to Baal. He was finally able to cast a spell this game. On Baal's upkeep, the Tabernacle triggers. He uses the Elvish Mystic to pay for itself and the Recruiter to pay for the Spellseeker thanks to Earthcraft. He lets the Recruiter go to the graveyard. Then, Baal plays a basic forest and casts Priest of Titania, looking for a way to generate positive mana through the Tabernacle. He goes to his end step and I cast Eladamri's Call. As a man of the people, I choose to pick up a Linvala, Keeper of Silence, just so that Baal has to struggle through the Tabernacle like the rest of us. On my turn, I play Forbidden Orchard. I tap it to give Luís a spirit and I cast the Linvala, which resolves. I protect her with my Lightning Greaves and pass to Luís. Luís wins the crypt roll. He sacrifices his spirit to the Tabernacle and pays for Taigam. He then attacks David with his commander and David simply blocks with the Vampire token. On his second main phase, Luís plays a Misty Rainforest and cracks it for a second snow-covered island. He then casts Personal Tutor. Although the Chalice of the Void tries to counter the tutor, Taigam does say instant sorceries and dragon spells you cast can't be countered by spells or abilities. The tutor resolves with Rebound and it's exiled to be played the next upkeep. Because Personal Tutor's Rebound can still net him a different sorcery, Luís chooses to get himself a Ponder. He's looking for better cards in his future. With that, he passes the turn. David pays for the Tabernacle trigger during his upkeep. He then plays a Nerdborg Tomb of Yawgmoth for lack of another land to play. He attacks Luís since he does not intend to block with his Vampire and passes. Baal pays for the Tabernacle by tapping a basic land for each creature and untapping that same land with Earthcraft. He then complains for the lack of lands to cast his commander. However, Baal still casts his Finale of Devastation, and rather than letting David back in the game by looking for a way to destroy the Chalice of the Void, he gets himself a Destiny Spinner. This way, he can resolve both the Aluran and the Shrieking Drake in his hand uncontested. This was a pretty smart play. Baal passes to me. I untap and pay to keep Linvala on the battlefield. Afterwards, I play Badlands. I cast Sidar Kondo and give Luís a token just in case he wants to contribute for the damage going around. With this commander in play, Sidar should help people find something to do with their creatures besides letting them die to the Tabernacle. I go to combat and also attack David to try and force him to play cards. I then pass to Luís. On his upkeep, it feels like Luís' script is trying to prove a point by taking yet another whack at his life total. Luís then recasts his Personal Tutor just to get it back into his graveyard, but otherwise keeps the Ponder on the top. He taps Tabernacle, which is also a swamp thanks to Urborg, and pays for the Taigam tax, choosing to be rude and let my Gifted Spirit die out. Luís goes to combat and attacks David yet again. David isn't too happy about it, but what else can he do? During his second main phase, Luís casts the Ponder, exiling it with Rebound. He shuffles and draws one card. Then, Luís plays a Flooded Strand before passing, almost fully untapped. David yet again pays for the Tabernacle before playing a tapped Godless Shrine. He fights back by attacking Luís and passing his turn. Baal mimics his previous turn, using Earthcraft and his creatures to pay for themselves. He then sighs when, like Shinra Corporation, he can't find the Promised Land to cast Chulane, instead going for a Lotus Cobra. I'm a bit sad no one is using Sidar for some spanking, but otherwise get to my turn. I keep both creatures in play. I attack David because, well, you can't pay life you don't have. Then I go to my end step. Everyone is moderately suspicious of my 3 untapped lands. At this point, Luís' script is too used to violence to stop. He takes 3 more damage. He casts the Ponder from exile, shuffling his library yet again and drawing a card. Taigam is paid for with the Tabernacle, which is its own mood. Luís plays an Arid Mason. Tired of losing life to his own mana crypt and drawing cards he doesn't want to cast, Luís decides to generate mana with his crypt and cast Transmute Artifact, sacrificing it. Baal responds by casting a Containment Priest. It's not much, but it prevented Luís from getting artifact creatures into play. Luís simply gets a Scroll Rack to try and mold his hand better with his 2 fetches in play. He then goes to combat to give David another slap. With that, Luís passes to David. David repeats his past 2 turns. Pay for the vampire, attack Luís, pass. We ask him if there's nothing he can do and he just tells us we'll get to see his hand just so we can prove how poor his draws have been. During his end step, I pay 12 life and take the selfless act of casting Fire Covenant to kill everything except my Gifted Spirit to Luís, Spellseeker, and the Priest. Luís responds and swaps his 3 cards in hand for 3 new ones, but my spell still gets to resolve. With a significantly reduced board, Baal chooses to just pay for his creatures during his upkeep and pass. During my upkeep, I pay for both creatures. I then play a Verdant Catacombs and go to combat, attacking David with Linvala and Sidar. Luís is already getting low and I don't want him out of the table until I have dealt with the combo-focused decks, or I have at least the means to deal with them without Luís. On my second main phase, I finally cast my Vial Smasher. I go to my end step and Luís cracks his Arid Mesa for a Hallowed Fountain, shuffling his old hand into his library. Luís draws his card for the turn and immediately swaps his hand with the Scroll Rack, looking for something better. He cracks the Flooded Strand for a Tundra, plays a snow-covered island, and gets to recasting Taigam before passing. At least this turn, David didn't get slapped. David untaps and casts a Grim Monolith. He's playing spells again. He uses the mana to cast Edgar Markov in an attempt to protect himself from all the aggression pointed at him. He then lets Baal get to his turn. Baal pays for both his creatures once again, looking for a land to cast Chulane. He doesn't succeed, so instead he starts pressuring the one deck that's stopping him from winning, Luís's. He attacks Luís for 2 and David for 1. People are really starting to look to put him out. On my turn, I pay for the Tabernacle triggers. Then I give Luís another spirit, hoping he handles it with care, and cast a Feyborrow Elder to start getting around the Tabernacle tax. Vial Smasher triggers, and the random damage hits David. I equip the Elder with the Lightning Greaves and go to combat, attacking Baal for 7 and David for 2. I then pass to Luís. Luís pays for both creatures, keeping my spirit at last, and draws a card. He goes to combat, attacking Baal, who is too healthy for his own good. On his second main phase, Luís casts an Impulse and exiles it for the Rebound. He puts a card in his hand and then casts a Sevinne's Reclamation to recover his mana crypt, possibly missing the damage it was dealing to him, while also exiling the Reclamation for the Rebound. He plays a Windswept Heath and passes. David pays for his Edgar Markov. He then gets to casting a Changeling Outcast, which gets countered by the Chalice of the Void, but still nets him a Vampire token to the Eminence. He does the same with Duskborn Skymarcher and Vampire Cutthroat, showing us he had these in wait for Edgar to be out all this time. David proceeds to attack me, which is pretty rude. Edgar Markov triggers and all of David's vampires get a +1/+1 counter. I take 5 damage and we get to Baal's turn. Baal keeps his creatures and finally finds the Wooded Foothills, which he cracks for a tropical island. He taps both creatures to untap lands with Earthcraft and casts Chulane to finally try and get some value, namely by bouncing Spellseeker next turn. With that in mind, I do what I have to. I tap the Feyborrow Elder and exile the Fire Covenant, swapping instant for instant in my graveyard to cast a Murderous Cut on the Chulane. Vial Smasher triggers, and she also hits Baal for 5 damage. Not at all happy with my play, Baal passes to me. I pay for the Tabernacle tax. I play a basic forest and go to combat, attacking David for 7 and Baal for 4. I left David at 5 because on my second main phase I'm generating 6 mana to cast a Rurik Thar, triggering Vial Smasher. However, she is used to hitting Baal and she does so again. That's 11 damage in 2 consecutive turns. I equip Rurik Thar with Lightning Greaves and pass. On my end step, Luís activates Scroll Rack for 1 in a desperate attempt to try and find something, but since he didn't crack his fetch, we wonder if he already had a good card on the top of his deck. During his upkeep, Luís allows the Crypt trigger to resolve first. He loses 3 life to it before losing another 6 life to cast Cyclonic Rift and stop my board from killing him. I do regret not taking out the Spellseeker with the Fire Covenant. Luís then recasts the Sevin's Reclamation for a Flooded Strand and then Impulse. He pays for the Tabernacle trigger and activates the Scroll Rack, swapping 3 cards in his hand with 3 cards on top of his library. He does not attack before passing to David. David once again plays the Grim Monolith and Edgar Markov, keeping him untapped just in case. He has 3 less vampires in play though. He lets Baal get to his turn. Now that he's the one playing, Baal casts Earthcraft followed by Containment Priest. He might be looking to have both Spellseeker and Earthcraft up on the next turn to cast whatever it is he tutors. Baal passes to me. I try to maximize my next turn by using this turn to ramp. I cast Lightning Greaves followed by Favorable Elder. I tap it to cast Bloom Tender. I equip the Bloom Tender with the Greaves and give a Spirit to Luís to cast Sidar Kondo. I re-equip the Elder to keep it protected and pass. Luís wins the Crypt roll, which is vital at this point. He pays to keep his creatures in play with Tabernacle and Mana Crypt. He attacks Baal with Taigam, who blocks with the Priest and taps it to untap a basic forest. On his second main phase, Luís casts a Time Twister, exiling it for the rebound trigger. We shuffle up, but not before David showing that half his hand were indeed cards that cost 1 mana. Boy, that Chalice of the Void was doing some work. Luís activates the Scroll Rack. He plays the Snow-Covered Island. He then cracks his Flooded Strand for a Snow-Covered Plains. He plays a Personal Tutor, and we have to start wondering if he might be close to winning. Luís picks up a Merchant Scroll. The tutor gets exiled for the rebound. He casts an Arcane Signet and passes. David pays for the Tabernacle. He plays a Badlands. Then he casts a Timna the Weaver and passes to Baal. Baal plays a Mox Diamond, discarding a Scalding Tarn. He plays a Plains, passing to me. I count Baal's mana, 7. Is this another Rift? Boy, I sure hope not. I pay for the Tabernacle. Then I play an Arid Mesa and crack the Catacombs for a basic forest. I cast Trace of Abundance on the forest so I can get more colors out of the Bloom Tender and the Favorable Elder. I then cast a Sower of Discord. It's usually used to kill a player through combo, but, well, I guess I'm still trying to kill players with it. I choose Baal and David as my targets because I can take both of them out this combat. However, as I go to equip the Lightning Greaves on the demon, Baal responds with a Court of Calling instead of a Rift like we expected him to. He searches for and finds a Gilded Drake, swapping it for my demon. Baal only noticed later that he could have improved his play by tapping the Great for Earthcraft, giving it to me tapped and having 1 more mana open. I equip the Greaves on the Gilded Drake and go to combat. I deal lethal damage to David, and Luís jump blocks my Favorable Elder with one of the spirits I gave him. Baal loses 5 life to the demon. On my second main phase, I crack my Arid Mesa for a Plains, cast a Collector Roof and a Krenko Teen Strip Kingpin. Somewhat unsure whether we'll last another cycle. Things seem even more dire when Luís casts a Chain of Vapor, sending my Collector Oof back to my hand. I would copy it, but the Chalice of the Void would counter the copy. Luís loses the Crypt roll. He then casts Time Twister, getting all of us a new hand and shuffling his Merchant Scroll back into the deck. Before deciding on the Personal Tutor rebound, Luís casts Frantic Search, drawing 2 and discarding Sea of Clouds and Chromatic Sphere. He then activates Scroll Rack, swapping 3 cards from his hand. When he passes priority for the Personal Tutor rebound, Baal taps the Sower of Discord to untap a basic land and casts Aven Mind Sensor. Brandão responds and cracks his Windswept Heath for a Snow Plains, lets the bird resolve to simply send it right back the way it came with a Cyclonic Rift. Luís seems to have everything ready. Luís now uses the Personal Tutor to get himself the Merchant Scroll he had tutored last turn. He draws it for his draw step. He casts Transmute Artifact, sacrificing the Scroll Rack and getting himself an Isochron Scepter. We are all wondering if he has a Dramatic Reversal in his hand, and he does. Luís now has infinite mana. He casts the Merchant Scroll to search for Muddle the Mixture and then transmute into Blind Obedience and then extort us to death with a Dramatic Scepter combination. Luís had everything this turn. He wins. What an intense game, folks. We like to do an honorable mention to Chalice of the Void that stopped one deck from playing almost completely and another one from maybe winning around turns 3 or 4. Next week we'll have more Ikoria commanders. Thanks for following us through this match, everyone. This was grindy, but Luís took the win. Next week we'll have a guest here and we will be playing with more new Ikoria commanders. We'd like to start the credits by thanking our current patrons and especially Izanagi, Carneiro, Troy, Stefan, TJ Rapp, Mike Purr, and Ajimo are stack breakers. If you want to support us, you can do so by liking this video, subscribing, or becoming a patron yourself. If you want to go through other Commander adventures, click one of the videos on the right. If you want to talk with us about our games or other EDH related matters, join us on Discord. Come join us again next week for a new set of commanders, all of them from Ikoria, and more decisive plays. See you all then.